Oh, we're recording. All right, I'm going to open up chat and let people roll in here. Let's give people some, here they come, participants. Keep coming here. We're going to let people roll in. But this is going to be evergreen. I have a lot of people who are like, dang, nabbit, I can't make it. Is this being recorded? And I'm like, yes, every single time.
Yeah, that's like it's every webinar. That's every
webinar. Right? Yes, every webinar we do, I promise it's recorded. We're not going to do something this important anyway, not record it. So, but we'll give everybody just a couple of minutes and then we'll get rolling. So, and again, I apologize if there's any background noise. My husband's home and my two children, and they have moments of memory lapse that mommy's trying to do something important in there. And
how old are your kids?
They're 8. So I have twins. I have 4 children. My 2 are adults and they don't live here. They still live in Illinois. My husband and I and the 2 girls escaped Illinois, moved to Florida 2 years ago. So they're now 8 and in 3rd grade. And for the most part, they're pretty reasonable. But then every once in a while, they just have zero self-awareness of how loud they are. So, but this mic so far has been pretty good. All right. So we are just a couple minutes in. I want to be respectful of everybody's time, yours and mine. I know I've got I got a coaching client I've got to jump into at 6:30 after this. So I want to make sure that we're done at 6. And most importantly, I want people to have time to ask questions. All right. So everybody, hopefully most of you know me or at least who I am. Coach Laura here. I'm part of the staff at the Primal Health Coach Institute. Many of you probably talked to me when you enrolled. I'm the admissions director and the co-host of Health Coach Radio. I've done some work with Coach Catalyst in the past. I've done a couple of your sort of online symposium things. That's super fun. Oh, so I have Trevor with us, who's amazing. He did our first sort of video training when we rolled out PrimalPro, and there have been some major changes. And I just thought it would be a great idea to have a refresher with Trevor, talk about some of the updates and some of the new things coming to Coach Catalyst. We chose, so as a background, we reluctantly built PrimalPro. And I say reluctantly because for a number of years, we were pretty steadfast in saying, look, we think it's important coaches go to market having built their own signature program. We built what was kind of the chassis to kind of build your own program from. But what we kept hearing from people, because we do survey our own graduates, and if you guys aren't filling out the survey, please do. We send it every year. It lets us know how you're doing, what else we can be doing. But what we kept hearing was, this has got me stuck in the mud. I'm trying to build my own signature program. I just don't have confidence in it, or I don't understand the technology and what program to do, or I don't have confidence in my own ability to write, whatever it is. Can you just build it for me? So we eventually said, okay. So we built PrimalPro. It's still a 12-week program. The flow in terms of what topics are kind of rolled out on a broadly weekly basis are very similar, but the structure is different. It's daily lessons. But the benefit of PrimalPro now, and the reason we chose Coach Catalyst, is we wanted a program that wasn't just an e-course. It wasn't just education that was being delivered regularly that you were overlaying a coaching conversation with. We wanted this to be engaging. We wanted it to actually foster changes in habits and taking action. And Coach Catalyst was one of the few that actually had the functionality we wanted, wasn't super bloated with way too many bells and whistles that nobody knew how to use, wasn't super expensive. It was reasonably priced, and was essentially a coaching platform, not just a CRM tool, not just an educational tool. So that's why we chose you guys, and it's worked out great so far. So just a little background story. And folks, if you have comments here in terms of whether you've already bought PrimalPro or using Coach Catalyst or not, and you have questions about either, pop them into the chat. I'm keeping an eye on that. But I'm going to hand this over to Trevor. Trevor's going to walk through a whole demo, which is something a lot of people ask me to do. And I'm like, I know how to use it the way I use it. I'm not Trevor. You're going to be able to do an amazing job here. So I'm going to hand this over to Trevor. Trevor's going to take you guys through a demo, and we'll answer questions as we go.
Cool. So before we get into actually looking at the software, I think it's really good to understand a little bit the people and the purpose behind the software. So Laura really knocked it out of the park. It's meant to be a coaching software. There's plenty of things out there for you to deliver information to people, but the goal is not information delivery. It's That's a piece of coaching, right? So we really think about coaching in 3 segments. There's education. So we have to teach people what they need to know. There's accountability. So we need to hold the person accountable to doing the things to be successful, right? And then there's the connection piece, and we call it communication. So your ability to connect and communicate with that client along the journey. And you need to be able to do it in an easy way. And so before we developed the software, we were using Google Sheets and we were using text message, and we were kind of trying to put all these tools together in order to provide this experience. And then over the last 6 years, we've been able to build Coach Catalyst to be a coaching platform. Because when we think about it, at the end of the day, if information was the solution, everyone would be fit and happy, right? But like the information is there. So what a coach does is they disseminate that information to the clients in the correct order, in the correct way, in the correct amount, so the client can take it in. But then they also hold them accountable to taking the actions. And so the software is a tool for you to be what we call a super coach. And so the software alone is not going to help your clients, or it's not going to make your clients be successful. It's you as the coach. You are the catalyst in them being successful. The software just gives you a tool to be able to do it at scale. And so now you can coach 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 100 people with the same effort that you coach 1 or 2. And it provides you a system to be able to do it over and over again. So you can spend your time doing what you do best, which is coaching. It's not trying to figure out like how to send a lesson or anything like that. The software is there for that.
Can I add some context to that? So
Yeah.
We've done some corporate wellness programs using this exact thing. It's all the PrimalPro programming, but it's been branded My Primal Coach. It's our own little brand that we've developed for this group of corporate wellness people that we've been targeting. And I've had over 100 people in a program, and it was effortless. It was effortless. I could just pull reports being like, these people had done 50% or less in terms of engagement with the lessons, with the actions, all of this. It allowed me to send a bulk message to those people only. Hey, how's it going? Yep. And I just did like a Zoom call every week. It made delivering all this content and coaching these people and knowing who needs help. This is the big thing. It allowed me to identify who needed help and to send props to the people who were really working hard. So I guess I'm just sort of backing that up. Like it makes this scalable. Yeah.
So our goal at Coach Catalyst is to take the one-on-one coaching experience and then allow you to scale that across 50, 100 clients, so that you can provide that one-on-one experience across 100 people. You're going to have happy customers, which you're going to tell their friends, which is going to get you more customers and more clients, and everybody's going to win at the end of the day. So I'm going to share my screen here. Laura, can you just give me permission to share?
Oh, sure. Hold on.
We'll do it. And while you're doing that, Patrick just asked in, can you translate content to your own language? Yeah. So Coach Catalyst, and the content that you get from PrimalPro as well is you're going to be able to modify and tweak anything to fit your brand. And so if you have clients where their native language is Spanish, you can translate the lessons if you want to. We actually have a number of people on the platform that translate content into their own native language. The only thing is specifics on the app. So like the headers on the app and all of that kind of stuff, that's all going to be specific to English. You're not going to be able to change that at this point. We've explored it, but we just don't have a big enough user base at that point to spend the money to go down that rabbit hole. So let me know if that answers up. Cool. Perfect, Patrick. Nice. All right. So let's share a screen, and we're going to start on the web here. All right. So what Laura talked about is being able to see exactly who's on track, who's doing well, who's struggling, because that's your biggest thing as a coach, right? I need to know, how are my people doing today? And so everything around Coach Catalyst is based around, how are my people doing today? So this is your main dashboard. And I've got a couple clients just filled out here to give you an idea on what it looks like when clients are going through a particular program. The most important part on this page is on the right side. Okay. So on that right side, you're going to see 7 circles. Those circles represent the last 7 days of these clients. And so if it's green, that means they did their thing for that day. The number inside is how many actions they needed to complete on that day. So for Trevor at the top, he had 1 action, did it. It's green. Awesome. He hasn't checked in yet for today. And then if it has a 0 and it's red on the inside, that means that they didn't accomplish any actions on that particular day. I can click into Imam here and I can show you what she didn't check into, but it gives me some oversight. And now I can be like, cool, I can just quick send a message to Imam. I can see she's working on drinking water and walking 10,000 steps. Awesome. I can shoot her a quick message and just encourage her. Hey, I saw you missed the last couple of days. What's going on? How can we help you get back on track? How can we help you get to it tomorrow? And so it opens coaching conversation. And then if you have a bunch of people, like Laura was saying, maybe a bunch of people that are kind of all in the same spot, you can do what's called bulk message or send a bulk message. So I can just do that. I've got all those people checked. I can send that message out. I can even personalize it with their first name if I want to, and then just hit send message. It's going to look and feel like a one-to-one message, but you're just being really efficient in your time. So that's another principle for us at Coach Catalyst is how do we make a coach more efficient so that you can spend more time coaching, right? You don't want to spend time sending an individual message to all of these people because you'd probably send the same thing to all of them. So a lot of your bulk actions happen right here. Now, if you are starting to scale some of your coaching, maybe you have individual one-on-one clients, maybe you're running a 6-week challenge or a 21-day challenge, and you've got a 12-week program and you're doing some corporate stuff, you're going to want to start utilizing what we call tags. So tags are just basically groupings of people. So it gives you a good way to just sort your list. So if you start having more than 10, 15, 20 people, you want to sort them by, your one-on-ones or your 21-day. That way it's just easier to look at them. And then if you need to maybe send like a bulk message, hey, here's our Zoom link, here's that. You don't have to sort through each individual one to figure out where they are. Clients don't know if they're in tags or not. And so it's just a great way to organize your coaching. And then when you have a lot of clients too, you can start sorting by compliance. So we'll just look at risk to start. So right here, Imam's at risk because she hasn't checked or she's checked no for 3 days. So if a client's checked no or hasn't checked in for 3 consecutive days, they show up when you're at risk. You can change those settings. If you want to make it 2 days rather than 3 or make it 4, make it 5, you can do that in your settings. But for this account, it's set to 3. Now, these other clients here where you see these dashes, that just means they didn't have any actions on that particular day. They didn't have anything where they're actively checking in. Most coaches will have, more than that. But for this particular account, I haven't put these people on a program. And then we can start to look at like over the course of time. So, hey, I want to look at the last 30 days. And now I get my total compliance. So I can see, hey, Trevor here is 84%. Imam's, was she 83, 57, 100%, 34. And so you can start to see the exact percentages. And so these are great coaching conversations, right? I like to actually sort this by the last 7 days. And so then when I sit down and have a conversation with that client, we actually have data. And so it's less about how I feel and it's more about like, did we do the things or not? And we'll talk about feelings and all of that kind of stuff, but ultimately like the success is in the doing. And so this can sometimes bring to light, hey, we're doing well, but we're only at 50%. Is this something we want to stick with? Or do we need to maybe make this a little bit easier so you can have a little bit more success with it? But it provides you with good data to have those coaching conversations with those particular clients. So that's your main page. That's where most coaches spend the majority of their time. But the next piece we're going to move into is our inbox here. So we built the inbox in a very specific way. So the inbox is meant to be organized. So any new message comes into your inbox. So I don't have any in here. So I'm going to just pull a couple in. So this would be any new message that a client sends me. So I can respond back to that client. And then once I've responded, I can mark it as done. That gets it out of my inbox. I can mark it as done, or I can mark it as follow-up. That just gives it a star, and then it puts it into a separate folder. So if I need to come back to it, it's in that folder. And why we built the inbox in this way was most of you probably look at your email and you don't delete all of your emails. And so when you go in there, it's just like this massive amount of information and different things. And you have some that are read, some that are unread, and like it's just all over the place. And so we built it in this way so you never miss a message. So once you get done with something, you can mark it as done. It moves down into the done folder. It doesn't delete it. It just moves it into a different folder. And when the client responds back, it pops back into your inbox. So you can always have a clean inbox, which means if it's clean, that means that everyone's been responded to. No one's waiting for a response. No one's falling through the cracks, and you can provide really good customer service. And especially if you're an online coach, that's a critical part of that business. Is that communication and connection and being able to get back to clients in a timely manner. A few other things from this inbox that are just kind of interesting. Over on the right side here, here's some shortcuts. We have this thing called streaks. And so streaks we call them perfect days. So if you've had 2 perfect days in a row, that's a streak of 2. So this client has a streak of 9. They've had 9 kind of perfect days in a row, meaning they checked yes to all their actions or done to all of their actions. You can also add notes here. So maybe a client says something profound in a message that you're like, hey, I want to keep that and come back to that. You can highlight it, you can throw it in here and then paste it in there, and that'll save it into the notes section, which is what we'll go to next. So every client has a profile, and under that profile are going to be a bunch of different things. So we'll start kind of at our dashboard here. So the dashboard just gives you all the basic information about that client, and then also tells you what program they're on, any subscribed resources, and we'll show you all that, any tags, any coaches they're assigned to. Because if you do have other coaches that are working with you, you can have an organization level, invite coaches to that organization and assign clients to the coach. So as an organization, you can see everyone, but as a coach, they're only going to see the clients they're assigned to. And so that's a good way, if you do have multiple people working with you, to just make it easy for that coach. They log in, they only see the 10, 15 people they're working with and don't need to mess with 50 or 100, unless you want them to, but they can. And then it'll also show you the connected apps that the client has connected to their account. And I'll show you what all of that means in a second here. So this next piece is what we call the journey. I would say this is probably the second most important part of the software. So on the journey here, this is your day-to-day calendar for that client. What are they seeing on their app? So the client can get information in two ways. They can get their information through a mobile app, whether it's our My Coach app or it's your own branded app, or they can get it via the web. And then they log in through a web portal and do everything via email. But this tells you what that client's getting on that particular day. So today, Trevor is getting a lesson, and I can pop that open and see. Looks like lesson number 4, a cool tool to help. And if my internet would speed up here a little bit, you'd see the lesson here. The beauty of home internet, but the lesson pops up there and you'd be able to make edits and do all that kind of stuff. And then we have the action for today. So his action is write 3 things you are grateful for today. So I can see that action, and then I can look in the past, right? So the green means I have marked those as done, or the client has marked those as done. If it's gray like this, the client didn't mark it off. If it was red, that would mean the client marked it as not done. So you get a nice kind of overview of how that week is going. If I have a client that has a lot of actions they're working on in any particular day or any particular week, I usually look at this view, and that allows me to just see a good overview of what's going on for that week. You can also look at things in what we call list view. So the list view is sometimes easier if you need to maybe drag and drop things around. I want to move this over here. I want to move that over there, change my lessons around or do anything like that. You can do that all. You can actually do it from both views, but the list view is another way to look at it. So some other fun things here with the journey is we have got 4 different elements that we can add to a journey. And I'll just open this up so you can see them visually. One is a lesson. So lesson is educational. So when you get PrimalPro, they're going to basically give you 12 weeks of content. There's going to be lessons every day. Okay. So lessons are content. It's a way for you to educate the client. It could be words. It could be video. It could be audio, images. Think about it almost like a blog post. And then we have actions. Actions are a dynamic process with that particular client. So here the client is going to mark something as done or not done. Okay. And so that's what's going to show up on your dashboard to see, is the client being successful or not with the things we're working on. The next one is a message. So this is super powerful because most of us forget to follow up or send messages to our clients because we just have so many things going on. So you can actually schedule a message to go out in the future at a specific time to that client, and you can type the message out in advance. We use this in a few different ways. One is if we want to send a reminder to a client, maybe it's for a Zoom call. So maybe we have a Zoom call every Thursday at 4 p.m. Cool. I can set the message to go out at 3:45 p.m. with the Zoom link in it. I have it repeat for every 6 weeks or 12 weeks, however long that program is. So that's an easy way to disseminate information to the client. And then they'll just get a little push notification on their phone. Oh, cool. Right there. I have my Zoom link. It makes it really easy for the client to pop on. Another way that I use messages is as a prompt. So we use them as a way to facilitate a conversation, right? So just like you might do something on social media to try and get people to comment, it's the same way. Whether it's saying, how did your week go? Or what was one thing that you did well this week? Or actually I use it a lot for if I have a conversation with a client and they tell me something personal about their life. Maybe their kid has a soccer game on Thursday night, and maybe it's like the sections championship or the state championship. I'll actually schedule a message to go out Friday morning that just is like, hey, was thinking about you. How'd the soccer game go last night? And so, but I do that like while I'm on the call or right after the call with a client. So I don't have to try to remember on Thursday night or Friday morning to send that message. I just schedule it to go out because that's something that I know I want to do, but I'm not going to remember to do it Friday morning. So there's really cool things that you can do with scheduled messaging to help create that connection with the client. then the last one is workouts. So if you're doing workouts for clients, you know, exercises, sets and reps and all that kind of stuff, you can assign those workouts here as well. And then a program, we'll get to that here next, but a program is basically a combination of all of these things. That would be like your PrimalPro program, or it would be a 21-day program where you have the lessons and the actions and the messages all built out in advance, and then we just drop it onto that client's account. So I'm going to pause here for a second because I did see a question or two come in. Okay. Patrick said thanks. All right. So
yeah, well, no, he did have another question. I answered it, but I'd love your thoughts. So he said, we work with private Facebook groups in our 10-week lifestyle change program. Can you see a combination of these two platforms as a good match? And my reply to him is that he might not actually need the Facebook group anymore. You have this actual communities function. I just haven't had a chance to use it myself. So you can speak to that. But that before that functionality was available, and I did like that corporate wellness program where they were getting lessons, they were getting messages. I was doing a Zoom call. We had a little private group where people could share recipes and stuff like that. So
yeah, so we'll definitely get into communities. So since the last time I kind of did a demo, this looks way different than what it did for people that went through PrimalPro a few years ago. The software is always being updated, new features are being added, new interfaces are being created to make it easier for you as a coach. And so communities was something that we added. There was we were getting a lot of feedback from Facebook, and just like Facebook was censoring things, or they weren't seeing things. And so we built out basically Facebook groups inside of the app. And again, it makes it easier for the client. If the client has just a single place that they need to go to interact with you as a coach, you're going to get much better adoption. And we'll talk through and look through what exactly features are here, or what exactly the community feature is here. So I got to write down this code here, so when we get to the app, I can show you it. And then we'll get into the next piece. So other things with the client. So you're going to be tracking stuff with the client. So that might be things like weight. It might be body fat percentage. And I know with PrimalPro, you have some subjective measurements that you do as well that we can talk through here in a second. But metrics, you get to choose the metrics that you're tracking with a client. So all of these can be turned on or off for a specific client. So if you want a client to just track one thing, like their weight, cool, you can just turn everything else off. If you want different metrics that aren't provided by us, you would just come in here, manage metric, add a new metric, and then you can add that metric in. And think about a metric as just number-based. Okay, if the client can put a number in to fulfill the metric, you can create it. So the sky is the limit on what you want to create. We also connect with most of the major wearables on the planet. So Apple Health, Google Health, Oura Rings, Withings scales, Fitbit, Garmin, all of that stuff. And so we'll pull a lot of that data automatically if the client connects their device inside of the MyCoach app. And I'll show you the full list of them. But those would then show up here. So that's why we have like average heart rate variability, average breaths per minute. That would be like pulling in stuff from Oura and Garmin. And so one aspect of data is metrics. The other aspect is photos. So the major use cases for photos we see are progress photos. So, you know, before and afters, that kind of stuff. If you're into kind of the weight loss, fat loss world, we also do a lot of like food journaling. And so that might be like you want a category for breakfasts and they just snap pictures of their breakfasts, or maybe you want all food in general where they snap pictures of all their food. And then they're just going to show up in here. I don't think I have anything in this account. No, but they would just upload it all right from their app, whether they're taking images from their phone or they're taking them in real time, but that all populates here and then you'll be able to see it. And I'll talk to some specific use cases to that when we start talking about communities. So before I mentioned the vault, right, where the vault is a place where we can store notes. So I use this if I'm doing one-on-one coaching. This is where I keep all my notes with a client. If I'm doing a Zoom call like this, I have this open and I'm just kind of typing in notes. So there's things that I need to remember for next time. You can pin things if you want to know like contraindications or things that you always want to be aware of every time you're maybe having a call with a client or programming workouts for a client. You can pin notes here. And then we have a goal section. These are both private to you as a coach. So clients cannot see anything that you put in here. It's just a way for you to store information. And then we have what's called our resource folders. So you have personal resources, which is a resource that's only available for that client. So think about like a PDF. Maybe it's a contract. Maybe it's an intake form or something that's specific to that client. And then we can turn it on or off. So if it's off, the client can't see it, but it still lives there. But maybe you want the client to be able to see it. I can just turn it back on. Maybe it's an agreement. Maybe it's a contract. Maybe it's an intake form. And they don't need to see it most of the time. But if they want to see it, cool, I turn it on and then they can go see it, right? The other fun, go ahead.
There's a couple questions that popped up here. So I answered Shauna had asked about just how much customizability, and I said you can customize this as much as you want. Allie's asking, do continuous glucose monitors or trends of CGMs connect as metrics?
No, not at this point. Not at this point. That we start to kind of, so we're not HIPAA compliant as of today.
That was another question.
It's a really, really expensive process. And it's expensive year over year. It's not like you just do it once. And so we don't have a large enough user base yet at this point. But if you brought me a hospital system that wanted to use our platform, we would be HIPAA compliant in 3 days.
No.
And so, but it is something that's on our roadmap. It's just kind of a matter of priority. And so at this point, so that's where when you get into CGMs and that kind of stuff, it starts to get a little bit dicier.
Right. Well, but my understanding, traditional health coaching in our normal scope of practice is not.
You don't need. No,
you don't.
And
if you are working within a medical practice, that's a different story.
Yeah.
But in which case, then your system working with the medical practice would cover that.
Right. And most people, if you do, are kind of in those HIPAA. So we have like some dietitians and that kind of stuff that kind of need to be HIPAA compliance, or they fall under that umbrella. They simply have a form that their clients fill out that's like, hey, the platform that we're using is not HIPAA compliant. Are you okay with that? And they just make it known right from the beginning. So, but yeah, data is secure. It's all encrypted and private and all that kind of stuff. And so HIPAA compliance is really like just jumping through the hoops and getting signatures and checking all the boxes to get it there. Yeah. And none of our stuff is like censored. Like a coach owns their data. They own their communities. They own all of that. None of it happens from us. And so, yeah, you have complete control over the entire system. Cool. I think those are the main ones there. So now, since we're here, let's just talk resources. I actually don't know if resources were here the last time we talked, but so resources, think about resources as like Google Drive for your coaching business. And so you can create folders, you can put documents into those folders, and we've expanded what you can actually put into those folders. So I'll open one of these up here. So you can do like ping files, JPEGs, GIFs, PDFs. But then you can also do links. So you can do a hosted video, or you can do an external link. So an external link might be a link to a Zoom, or it might be like a link to your calendar or something like that to schedule. A hosted video could be like a follow along workout that's on YouTube, or it could be a presentation you did that's on Wistia or Vimeo. And the difference on why we would use resources is they aren't time dependent. So when I was showing you the journey and I was showing you all those things, those are time dependent. So a lesson is going to show up on a particular day, right? And then when it goes to tomorrow, that lesson will then go into the past. It's not lost, but it's just out of view. Clients do have the ability to favorite lessons and do that kind of stuff. So it puts it into a specific folder for them to come back to. But resources is really just a folder where everything lives, and it's not time dependent. And then you can update the folders as you see fit. So you assign clients to a folder. So if you update it, those clients will automatically get the updates on those. So the max file size, Patrick, is 25 megabytes to upload here. But for the hosted videos, you would host it somewhere. So YouTube, Vimeo, Wistia, and then you would put the link and then it just embeds it, type of thing. And so we don't actually have to host videos. But as far as like JPEGs and PDFs, 25 megs. And if you have a PDF that's really big, that has really rich photos, you can use something like tinypdf.com, and that will actually shrink it down so that it can fit in there without kind of reducing any of the quality. So that's that with resources. And you can have these automatically assigned to clients. So if you're like, hey, every new client, I have like a welcome resource folder where they have everything. Maybe it's recipes, maybe it's meal ideas. We have some people that'll have like chicken recipes and they have a bunch of different recipes in there, or they have like beef recipes, vegetarian recipes as folders, and then they just fill them up with stuff for the clients. And so you can use them however you see fit. And then you can remove clients if you don't want them to have access to it anymore or anything like that.
So
and they can be as many folders as you want.
This is where all of those handouts that we've pre-built are going to live. So when you buy Primal Pro and you buy Primal Pro and you're granted access to a mini course, which walks you through how to set everything up. One of the steps in terms of getting the platform ready for your clients is to download a zip file of all the resources. And with a click, it uploads them all into the resources tab. And miraculously, I don't know how the technology works. Maybe Trevor can explain it. But when a client gets a lesson, there's a link that takes them. I mean, the resource is right there. They have access to it and it's right in their resource file, or they can go to the resources tab and find the title of it. So those are all there. Yeah.
And again, it's all about making it easy for a client. And so you have a single spot where the client can go to get all the information from coaching, rather than having to go to like Google Drive to get this, or go to YouTube to get that, or all over the place. And so you can still store things there, but you have one centralized place to send them there. Like, here's the link to go to that Google Drive, or here's the link, so they don't have to have all of that saved. Again, it's about improving the client experience. And so I talked about those connected apps. I just want to show you all of the ones that are in here. So here's all the ones that we have right now: NutriCheck, Chronometer, Fitbit, Aura, Training Peaks, Under Armour, Fat Secret, Withings, Polar, 8 Sleep, Google Fit, Garmin, Wear OS, Apple Health, Samsung Health, and Whoop. So we're going to pull in data from all of those as long as the client connects it. So if you are doing any macro tracking type stuff, Chronometer, NutriCheck, Fat Secret are going to be the ones that would work well there. And I'm just going to look at this client. I thought I added some data for him. So let's see if it's pulled over in my nutrition tab. Yep, there we go. So I put in some data from Fat Secret earlier today, so I can see right in here. All right, breakfast, what that client had, lunch, what that client had, the calories from all of that, and then the total breakdown of all the macronutrients up above. And so I don't need to do anything as a coach. As long as the client has it attached or connected, they can track in Fat Secret, they can track in NutriCheck. We don't have MyFitnessPal at the moment. We had them for a second, but then their API broke. And so, yeah. All right. So can I add my own apps? Shauna, expand on that a little bit more, like your own connected apps. If that's the question, no, these are the only ones that we have APIs with at this point. But if there are others that you would like to connect to, let us know. And so we can kind of work on building out those APIs and working with those companies. But those are the ones we're at right now. And then I think we are going to show Martin a little bit of the PrimalPro content, because I'm going to show you how we import. It's super, super slick on how we import all the data in. So let's actually go to that next, and then we'll flip over to the app and we'll check a little bit of the app experience. So inside of my programs is where all of your programs that you're editing lives. You're going to get the PrimalPro program. And then you'll also get the access to our marketplace, the Coach Catalyst, which includes a bunch of programs as well. But if you were to do the PrimalPro, what you're going to do is you're going to get a special link, and you're going to put that link into your browser. And then it's going to magically pull everything in. This is going to take a little bit because there's a lot of stuff here. And then it's going to look like this: copy of 12-week coaching program, version 1.0.4. So now I'd give it a new name, right? Let's just call that. We'll try and do that. There we go. My awesome program. Okay. And then we'll just save it so it's in my account. And this is going to take a little bit to save. And then I'll walk you through all of the different pieces that are part of this program. So all of the actions are here. The lessons, we'll just kind of pick a couple lessons. So lessons always have this graduation hat. They're always at the top, right? So if I went right here to grains, I'm going to see this. Okay. So we've got the little audio piece up here where if the client wants to listen to it, they can. Then we've got all of the content down below. And then you'd have the ability to edit any of this content. We're like, hey, I want to change this out. Cool. Like, you just go in and change it to whatever you want to change it to. You're like, hey, my colors are green. Okay, cool. You just can take that, highlight that, and then change it to green. I think it's under here somewhere. Yeah, there we go. So we change it to green, right? And then you just save it. And now you've updated that lesson. Now I'm actually going to switch to my list view because it's a little bit easier to see it. So now you're going to see the breakdown, right? You have the lessons on one side. We have the actions right there. And then we have our messages. And then you have the ability to edit any of these messages. Remember, these look and feel like a personal message. So they're just going to go right to that client on that particular day. So this one goes out at 8:05 a.m. And then you've got your actions right here that they're going to check off: their daily movement, today's activities, and choose supportive foods. And as far as today's activities go, those are explained in the lessons. So the client's going to see what that actually means right here: today's activities. And then it's going to be right there. So if you even wanted to break it down even more, where you had the client, break down each activity, you could do that. Sometimes we like to do it in a group. Sometimes we like to break them down individually. It really depends on how you want to coach and what information you want as a coach. Okay, Carb Manager and Fasting by Leap apps to look into. Cool. I will. I'll make a little note of that. I'm actually going to just
So
screen
one
share.
way that I've customized this. So when we were doing corporate wellness programs for Primal, I just left that audio the way it was. It's Erin's voice, you guys. So, but for my personal clients, I just took it out of there. At some point, I'll get off my lazy butt and re-record all the lessons and upload my voice. But for now, I mean, these lessons are not very long. It shouldn't take them more than 3 to 5 minutes, not even 2 minutes probably, to read through these. So I didn't bother. So I just took Erin's voice out of there, and there's some terminology that I changed around a little bit. I made sure that my clients understood what the word primal meant, because I didn't want it to have a brand. I wanted it to have a definition, that what primal meant is a nutrient, that it was an ideal. And so I added some language in there on why they were going to see that word primal in the programming all the time. So little things like that. I am in the middle now of kind of rebuilding this. So what I did, and maybe show people how I duplicated the program. And then I went into that duplicated program and started adding some more content around women in menopause. So you can duplicate this program as your baseline and then have different versions of it. You can shorten it, make it an 8-week. You can, there's lots of really amazing things you can do with this.
And really what you're saving. So when you purchase Primal Pro, like, you're saving time.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and we found this with a lot of coaches, is sometimes just having that program done and ready to go is the biggest sticking point to just getting it out there. And so, like, when you purchase something like this, all of the content is done for you and you could use it as is, but then you also have the ability to kind of add your own flavor to it if you want to. But it's no longer a barrier. That's a huge barrier for a lot of coaches once they get that certification. It's like, I have all this knowledge in my head, but then you'd have to go build the program, which would take you another 3 to 6 months to do. And it just delays the process of actually coaching people. And so, again, remember, like, the content really serves as a way to facilitate that interaction with the client, right? To facilitate conversations. It doesn't take away from you as a coach. It just makes it a better experience for the client. It provides that education and then opens up the door to have those conversations. And then you can start to tweak it. You can see what clients respond to, what don't they respond to, what do they need more of, and then you just continue to evolve the program. So most of the programs that we develop, they're continually evolving based on how clients use them and what information they missed. Oh, cool. Hey, we need to change this. They need this earlier, or this can come later, or they didn't really understand this concept. So we're actually going to have 2 or 3 lessons on it. Or you want to do some video. So you, instead of like doing audio, you record yourself talking through the lessons. And that's actually a really, really good way if you're dealing with clients just online, is when we deal with clients offline, right? You see someone in person, you sit across the table from them. There is a relationship and a rapport that is built from just being in the same room. And so if you are an online only coach, doing video is one of the fastest ways to build rapport and build relationship, because the client gets to see your mannerisms. They get to see how you move and how you interact. And it's just one of the fastest ways to create a connection with someone in an online fashion. So we encourage most of our online coaches to do as much video as they can, even if it's you just reading the lessons. Like, it can be super powerful.
Absolutely. I've got Martin is raising his hand, so he must want to ask a question. Do you mind if I?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
All right, here you go, Martin. What do you have to say?
So, question on the online, like, this is great. First off, right? Love the content. This is really good. How often, if you're having clients which are focused on these 12-week programs, is it appropriate to do like one-on-one Zoom coaching, and can that be added? I mean, is that atypical that maybe you spend 30 minutes a week doing a one-on-one Zoom meeting? Or I love the idea about the video. That's easy. But if you're coaching somebody one-on-one outside of just doing messaging, do you also recommend adding like a one-on-one time via Zoom?
Laura's shaking her head yes, and I would agree as well. Like, especially early on for brand new coaches, I would encourage you to actually get on the phone as often as possible with clients until you really get that under your belt, then moving more to group-based programs. But talking to clients face-to-face, you're going to get a lot more information. You're going to get better information, and that'll help you evolve the program a lot better because you're getting direct feedback. And it's just high value. And at the beginning, when you don't have many clients, like, you have the time. When you have 50, 100 clients, now you have to start creating, whether like an ascension model where, hey, if you want one-on-one Zoom calls, cool, but it's this price and it's much more expensive than our normal group ones. But right away, when you don't have any clients, I would encourage coaches to get on the phone as much as possible with their clients. You're just going to build a better relationship, build more rapport, get better feedback, and it'll allow you to create the program a lot better. So Laura, I don't know if you have anything else you want to add to that.
Yeah, that's the way I've always done it. I mean, when I lived in Illinois, the state laws there were so restrictive around nutrition advice. One way around that model was to just put together an educational program that provided nutritional content. And so it was basically done as like an e-course. And we met once a week discussing what they learned, because I found trying to educate people in my coaching conversations took too long. I was educating, I wasn't coaching. I wanted to coach. So my way around that was the education was being delivered automatically. Back then, I was very low. I was literally just sending emails with a video link of me talking to them about this stuff and overlaying either Zoom or phone calls. This one is so much more engaging because there is an educational piece to it. But then they've got the resources they need at their fingertips. They can message me with any questions. Hey, I have a question about this. But we've sort of pre-scheduled about 3 messages to go out every week, 3 to 4 messages that really seem organic. And the number of times I think my last corporate wellness had like 130 people in it. And the number of people that sent me a message back, boy, I really needed to hear that today. Thanks, Laura. And I'm like, oh, what did I say? I went back in and I was like, oh, it was that message that went out, So it allows you, it's so much more than just doing e-course and educational delivery. It truly is an engagement and coaching tool where your clients sort of have you in their pocket without you having to be available 24/7.
Yep.
And you really reserve and protect those coaching sessions for real coaching conversations.
And Martin, just one more thing to add to that in this having conversations with clients. So essentially what you're doing when you're building a program is you're crafting a client journey, right? And most people that are accomplishing the same thing or trying to, maybe it's lose 10 pounds or this or that, they're going to have very similar journeys. And there's going to be similar inflections in that journey. There's going to be high points and there's going to be low points. And they actually become pretty predictable once you work with enough people. And so as part of that, crafting that journey and having those conversations, especially early on, you can start to pinpoint when that person is probably most likely going to fall off. And then you can start to craft messages and lessons around that time frame, because hey, 10 days into a program, this is most likely what's going to happen. So I'm going to get a lesson on day 9 that kind of says what's going to be happening on day 10. And then it's like the client almost like thinks that you're in their head, but you've done it enough times and had enough conversations with people that you can craft this really cool journey. And it creates a really personalized experience for that client, and just provides so much value to them. So that's one of the other reasons why I like one-on-one calls really early in a coach's career, because you just learn so much. Martin, did you have another question?
Yeah, I think Laura, you and I talked about another coach that utilized the 21-day program.
Yeah.
And doing that at a less cost, but doing it in bulk, where I might be having a once a week Zoom call with maybe 40, 50 people on the line, right? So obviously this tool being automated for that, and then only having to do, 3, let's call them 1-hour Zoom sessions for 20, 30 people.
Right.
That's very intriguing. So can you calendar those Zoom schedules right into this tool?
Yep. So you could say hey, every Thursday at 7 p.m., that's when we do our Zooms. And then you could set up a message that goes out that says 6:45, hey, everyone, here's the Zoom link for this call. And then they just click in and move into it. Yeah. So you can structure it specifically for that. And if you did have something like a la carte come up, you could actually create a program with a single element, a single message in it, and then assign that message to all 100 people. And because you maybe had a special Zoom that's on Saturday at 10 a.m. that wasn't necessarily on their journey. So you could go in one by one and do it. But what I would do is create a program with that single element, assign the program to all 100 people, and then it'll drop it in right where you want it. So you can be very efficient with working in the system.
And one final question, because I'm sure everybody else has this question too. So would I front end on my website a link to get here after you went through my e-commerce process, or would I have e-commerce on the storefront here?
That's what
Yes.
That's what Lorraine's asking.
Yeah, I think that's a great question.
Yeah.
So think about Coach Catalyst as your client fulfillment process. Okay. So this is where you fulfill with your clients. And so, yeah, wherever you have your information, whether it's a website, whether it's a one-page sales page, whatever that is. And we actually have a Zapier integration. So they could buy something, they could purchase something. And then with that purchase button, we could utilize Zapier to drive that information into Coach Catalyst to start them tomorrow, to start them next Monday, or whatever you decide those parameters are. And so you can have a clean process, but Coach Catalyst is not like a CRM. It's not kind of a lead management, that type of software. It's your client fulfillment system. And they can only get in here if you've added them to the system, whether it's one by one, whether it's through bulk uploading, or whether it's like through a Zapier process where they purchased something from your website and then that moved them into the program here. Does that answer your question, Martin?
Yeah, I think so. So I can do that manually. If I do my e-commerce on my normal website and they sign up, they're paid, then I can give them access to their account on here.
Yeah, 100%. It really depends on volume, right? Like if you're doing a few sales a week or a few sales a day, like that's easy to just like, hey, go into my sales and then add them in here. It's if you are, let's say you're running like a 21-day challenge and you're going to bring in 150 people. You can do that, automate that, or you can just go, hey, I close the cart on Wednesday. We start the program on Friday. On Thursday morning, I go in, I get a CSV from our CRM, and then I upload the CSV on Thursday with everything right to the system.
Right.
And then
yeah, that'd be easier to set up. So is there instructions when you purchase this on how to get that account set up?
Yeah, 100%. And so we have this cool little dot down in the bottom right corner. You see this green thing that connects you with our support at Coach Catalyst. So if you run into any snags or you need help with stuff, you can pop that open. That connects you with our knowledge base. So that might be any videos or trainings that we've done. And then if you do need message support, you can just message right there. And if there's like cool features that you want, there would be a little feature button down there that you can just like suggest new features that we should be developing at Coach Catalyst. But yeah, everything's right there for you to kind of get a hold of us.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for answering those.
You bet.
Absolutely. Let's see. I think the other ones, users added via email addresses. Yes. So email address is their unique identifier. And then you can also enter their phone number. So if you enter their phone number as well, I would highly encourage you to get their phone number, because if you get their phone number as well, they're going to get a text message on how to download the app. So it makes it a much cleaner, smoother user experience. They'll get a text with a link directly to the app in the App Store. It'll have all their information right there, and it's really easy to get set up on the app. We found that most people download the app and that's where they want to go. Most people are mobile, like everyone lives on their phones. And so it's kind of just best to meet them where they're at. And so, yeah, so email address would be their kind of unique identifier. So you need first name, last name, email, and then you don't have to have phone. But if you don't have the phone, everything will happen via their email, and then they'll have to download it. Make sense there?
Yep.
Let's see if I can get my phone and we'll just kind of look at the app here quick. There we go.
There we go.
Awesome. So this is the user experience for the client. So the client, let me get out of this and I'll kind of show you the apps here. So My Coach right there, that's the app that the client downloads, My Coach. Up here, if we open this up, you see the green CC, that's your coaching app. So if you're on the go, you're standing in line at Starbucks, you want to answer messages, you can do that right from the app. Maybe you forgot to put an action on a client's account. You can do that from the app, put a program on a client's account. You can do all of that from the app. You're not going to be able to build out programs and do any of that big stuff, but you can do the client interactions there. And then that one right next to it, FF Coach, that's what a branded app looks like. So that's actually the branded app for my facilities, for my gyms. So if you did want kind of full brand all the way from App Store download, you have that ability. There is an extra charge for that. For us, it's $49 a month. And then Coach Catalyst essentially goes into the background and doesn't exist. You actually own the app in the App Store, and clients don't even know that we exist.
I've been going through that process. Until when you were in Florida, I had to get my LLC. Then I'm like, oh, I need an EIN number. Oh, I need a DUNS number. Dang it. Now I'm trying to pay my $99 to Apple. So.
It's a little, there's a reason Apple's a whatever billion, trillion dollar company. So here's the client app. So at the top, we got their streak. If they want to share their streak, they can, like on their social media, Instagram, Facebook, it'll have your logo and stuff on the actual post. And then we've got their lesson for the day. So if I click on that lesson, right, anything that's in that lesson would be here, videos, audio, everything. If it is a video, it would play right here. So the client would be able to just click on that video. It would play right in the app. It's not going to take them out to YouTube or anything like that. And then we've got their action for the day. So here's my action, right? 3 things you're grateful for. Awesome. When I'm done with it, I can just mark it as done. Cool. Super simple, right? My streak continues. I'm at 10. And then if I want to start going down the line here, if I want to message my coach, I hit messaging. One unique thing about us too is you can do audio messaging and you can do video messaging through Coach Catalyst. Right now, it's only available through the mobile apps. So as a coach, you would have to use your phone to do it, but you could record a video message to the client, or you can record an audio message to the client as well.
Cool.
And so I actually use it a lot for client check-ins, where I'll say like, here are the 3 things I want you to answer. You can either type it out to me, or if you just want to shoot me an audio message, just shoot me an audio message and talk through it. I get better responses because sometimes like just pecking on your phone is like, it's going to take forever. Where versus I just click the audio button and talk, that works too. Again, if you are an online only coach, doing video messaging, doing audio messaging is going to vastly improve the relationship and the speed of that relationship, how fast you build that relationship with the client. So, and then gifts and all that kind of stuff too. Metrics, this is where a client may enter in any metrics that they want to do. If it's weight or something like that, they can look at their graphs and kind of see how everything looks. Same thing with photos. You can upload all your photos in here as well. And then let's look at the U tab. This is where they find their resources. So remember the resources that we talked about, everything would be in here. And then we've got our progress. So we've got our progress in here as well for that particular client. So if they want to look at the habits that they're working on. Can you guys hear my cat meowing in the background?
Nope.
Okay. She's ridiculous right now. And like doesn't bother me anytime during the day, but now she just decides that she needs to be in the room. And then we've got like some nutrition. So if we've got some stuff, I've got Fat Secret in here. And so that's pulling up that data. And then this is where they do the connected apps too. So a client has to basically give you permission to get their content and their data. So this is where you would do it here. So go through, they'd connect it in, and then it would start pulling that data over. It's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then let's talk communities quick, since we didn't get to it on the web either. So communities are like Facebook groups for you. And so you can have as many communities as you want. You can add those in, and you could have like just a general community for all of your clients where they live. You can do posts, you can do likes, you can do comments, you can do hearts, you can do everything right in here. And so clients can post, you can schedule posts, you can tag clients, you can tag the entire community. So everyone will get notified. If I were to tag the entire community, everyone would get a push notification that I had something there. It's the only public spot in Coach Catalyst where a client and a client can interact. And so clients don't know that other clients are there unless it's a community where they can mention each other and do those kind of things. So it is a nice public forum if you want that kind of community aspect. The other actually really unique thing that I use communities for is clients that I want more information from, especially around eating. So maybe I want to know what they ate. So I want a picture of their food, but then I want to know like what their hunger levels were going into that meal, what their fullness levels were afterwards, maybe what their stress levels were at right before that meal, maybe any other data on subjective data on how they were feeling. So what you can do is you can have a single community with just one user, that client, and then they go in that community, they post that picture and the text and everything around it. And now the client and I can go back and forth in the comments, and we can discuss that just one thing, where you could also do this in Messenger, but the Messenger is a running thread. And so other things could interrupt it.
Mm-hmm.
But a community, you're going to have the post, and then you're going to have all of the comments on that particular post. So it's kind of a unique format if you're looking for that type of information. And then another way that we use communities is with just small 3 or 4 people. So maybe we just want 3 or 4 people connected to each other. And so they're kind of going together in this journey, and it's small and it's intimate. And then we'll use a community that way where they can just interact with each other. And then another way is if you have like a workout of the day or something like that in kind of the CrossFit world, you can have a workout of the day, you post it as a post in the community, and then people in the comments can put their times or their anything below. So there's lots of different ways that you can kind of interact with communities.
I like that idea, actually. Patrick's asking, can you show the community group again? Do you want him to open one of the groups?
So let's do this. Let's do this, Patrick. I'm going to go back to the web and I'll show you what it looks like on the web. So in here on the web, we'll go into communities. And so you can have as many communities as you want. So they're going to show up right here. Any ones that are active would not have the little eye next to it. But here would be an example of like what a community looks like. We have the post, And then we have all the comments down below, likes, comments, all that kind of stuff. So pretty straightforward. This is kind of version 1.0. There will be another update that's coming to communities fairly shortly in the future here. And then if you want to just see like any ats, mentions, reactions, like if people mentioned you, you can just go specifically to those posts. So it keeps everything
cool.
Organized really well for you. So yeah, again, like we found it just makes it easy for the client. So I don't need to go out to Facebook and get distracted there. I don't need to go out to Circle or any of these other places. Like they open their app and everything that they need from a coaching experience is right there. So
yeah.
Cool. I mean, that's the kind of the major rundown of everything. Let's see if there's any other questions in here.
Yeah.
Elizabeth was asking about the cost, and I joked, I said $1 million. And so I was hoping that she put it back in here so we remembered to talk about it, but it's not $1 million. And I don't know if this is the forum to talk about that, or I can talk about Coach Catalyst stuff.
So Coach Catalyst is a separate company, and they have their own fees. And I'll let you speak to how what your fees are. PrimalPro, the retail price for PrimalPro is $9.95. But especially if you're new to graduate, come talk to me because I can probably get you in at $7.95. Now this is a first year. PrimalPro is meant to be a yearly subscription, like almost like a yearly license for you to be able to use all the content and all the programs that are in there. So for PrimalPro, you get the 12-week coaching program and journey with every 84 lessons, followed by all the actions and activities that have been pre-built. All the resources are done for you, including links and recipes, and all those outgoing, seemingly organic messages are pre-done for you. And it also includes the content for the 21-day total body transformation program. That's what's currently in there. So $9.95 is kind of where we had it priced originally. And so my thought was, gee, I typically charge at least $100 an hour for my time. And so is it going to take me more than 10 hours to build a program? Yeah. My one client pays for that full year. If I just enroll one person a year, then it pays for itself. A half a person a year kind of pays for itself. And then the annual ongoing licensure is $4.95. And the onus is going to be on us here at Primal to keep that fresh, to keep it updated, adding cool things and more programs. Our goal is to eventually be able to add more programs for you guys, like a Primal Fitness program, all these secondary courses that we're coming out with, like the coaching in a medical practice, the human gut microbiome course. We've got some other things, some other ideas in terms of pre-built programs that we want to be able to add to this over time, so that when you buy PrimalPro, you're actually getting 5 programs or 3 programs that you can customize entirely. But you do have to open an account with Coach Catalyst first.
So with Coach Catalyst, so we have a 14-day trial. Come in and play with everything for free. But we actually just launched a few months ago a $5 plan. So you can literally get started with Coach Catalyst and have access to everything for $5 and have 3 clients on the software. So you can go in, you can get PrimalPro, you can edit all of the content, you can have a couple test clients, use yourself as a test client. And for 3 clients, you get the entire software for $5. The next step up after that, once you get above 3, is $39. And that's a monthly subscription. And then the next step up after that, once you get above 13 clients, that moves to, I believe it's $79. If you go to coachcatalyst.com/pricing, everything's available there as a little slider. And so like literally you can get started for $5 a month to get your coaching practice all ready to go. And then if you do want a branded app, it's $49 a month. And then you have to jump through some hoops with Apple and Google, but we show you exactly how to do it. It's pretty simple, but it's just working with mega companies, which is always exciting. But then you brand it from A to Z. So the clients go download your app from the App Store, and it just increases perceived value. It increases professionalism. When someone goes and downloads your app from the App Store, that's a much bigger deal than just kind of some random app. But we did call it My Coach because we didn't want it to be connected to the Coach Catalyst brand. We wanted to kind of be a generic coaching brand. So, but once you're inside of it, it will be all of your branding, your colors, your logo, your business name. So your clients know that it's you. It's only the app in the App Store. And
I encourage you. One of the things you're going to find when you buy PrimalPro is we're going to tell you to change the name of the program to something other, make it yours, make it Coach Patrick's program or Coach Jennifer's program or Jennifer's 21-day lifestyle change, whatever you 21-day, listen to me, or 12-week program. When you are building your app, we highly recommend you do not use the word primal, because ours says My Primal Coach on it, the one we use for corporate clients, and you don't want your clients mistaking our app for yours. So I would encourage you to use a different name for your app, especially.
And Lorraine, yours, so branding is $49 a month, and that's in addition. So if you're on the $5 plan plus branding, so it's 49 plus 5, we're at what, 54. And so it's 49 in addition to whatever plan someone may be on. Right. And you can adjust up or down. So if, let's say, you decide that you're running a challenge, like a 21-day something, to just bring on a bunch of people, you bump up for whatever period of time that you're on that higher plan, and then you can bump down once you remove people from the system, and then everything is prorated. So you only get charged for the time that you're in certain plans. And then there's lots of support from us. So once you come on to Coach Catalyst, we do free strategy calls, free walkthroughs. So if you want another walkthrough through the software, you can sign up for those calls. If you want a strategy call with our coach, Ashley, she can basically help you set things up, help you execute on things. And those are one-on-one. And our goal is just to help you be successful with the platform as much as we can. And then obviously the support, message support, that's right in the software as well. So it's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. I mean, I think that's pretty great. $49 to have. I mean, mine's going to have my logo. It'll say CoachLaura.fit on it, and people will be able to find it. But up until now, my personal clients, it's just the My Coach app. They didn't think anything of it. It was not a big deal. Everything else in there was branded for me. My program had my name on it and my colors and that kind of stuff.
What I tell most coaches, unless you have a really strong brand right now, you're probably just fine doing the My Coach. But then as you start to evolve as a coach and as you start to build a business, brand becomes more and more important. And then you want a complete brand experience from A to Z. And that's when we see a lot of coaches then doing the branded apps, because they do have some revenue coming in and they want to have a higher end type product. And that just leads to that. If you're going to start charging premium prices, you want a brand experience from A to Z.
PrimalPro $9.95 first year. Yes, but if you right now it's on sale. I can get you in at $7.95 for the first year, and then the second year is $4.95. Patrick, not $9.95. It's half the price. Okay, gotcha.
Perfect.
Awesome. Any other questions before I let Trevor go? Before he can escape my clutches. You guys have been awesome, super engaged, and lots of great questions. We will be sending out the replay to everybody, and we will be probably updating the current, this particular demo with the one we had originally, because this incorporates all the new features that weren't there the first time we did it. So this was great.
Cool. And if anyone has questions too, feel free to hit us up. support@coachcatalyst.com is a good way to get a hold of us. And yeah, if you decide to do the trial, you'll come into our world pretty quickly. So cool.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks everybody. Trevor, thanks again. This was so great.
Thanks for having me on.
You got it. You guys have a good night.
We'll see you later.